We want to arrange these in a pattern that allows us to accomplish the most things with the least change. We want the Custom Files program group up, we want the main program group, and we also want accessories. Now we'll use the Arrange Icons feature. Notice the program group icons did not change locations. This is because the Custom Files program group was activated. When we change this and activate one of the program group icons and then use Arrange Files, the icons are moved. This is an important point to remember. Auto Arrange only works on the program items within a program group. We've looked at Files, Options, and the window menus, but we haven't yet looked at Help. In Help, we have Contents, Search for Help On, How to Use Help, Windows Tutorial, and About Program Manager. About Program Manager brings up a dialog box which gives information about Program Manager. This box also tells us how much free memory and the percentage of free system resources that we have. Notice, we only have the option of pressing the OK button here. One common item on many Windows menus is Help. Help is a quick way to find information while working in Windows. You can search, browse, or use an index to retrieve just the help you need. Back at the Help menu, we'll choose the Contents option. Notice the buttons: Contents, Search, Back, History, and Glossary. Contents will display this screen. Search allows us to look for what we need. Back returns to the previous screen. History gives a list of what we've looked at until now. And Glossary provides a Windows word list. Let's use the search function. Here we have a dialog box which allows us to scroll through a list of help topics. We can use the scroll bar just as we can in many other areas of Windows, by either clicking on the arrow buttons, clicking on the scroll bar, or by dragging the box in the scroll bar. We can also enter options under the search for topics. We'll enter Creating Icons. Now Windows locates the options in the menu command topic. We go ahead and select this topic. And now we're taken to the Help menu with this topic. We can also define bookmarks in Help. The Bookmark Help feature allows us to quickly locate areas where we need help. Now we'll choose to exit Windows, and we're taken back to the DOS or C prompt.
File Manager is one of the most powerful tools available to the Windows user. This one application lets us manipulate our files into organized directories.
File Manager can be especially helpful if you are uncomfortable with DOS. This application allows you to perform many DOS functions using pull-down menus instead of the sometimes cryptic DOS commands.
If you've used Windows 3.0, you will notice quite a difference in the new File Manager.
Windows 3.1 features a split-screen File Manager. The new version also allows you to drop and drag files. We turned off Save on Exit, so our system comes up the way it is originally in Windows. We double-click on the File Manager and are taken into the File Manager program, which is automatically maximized. Let's take a quick look at the menu. Here we have File, Disk, Tree, View, Options, and two familiar items, Window and Help. Notice the Help menu looks similar to the Help menu from the Program Manager. We also have About File Manager here, which gives us our memory information. In the left window, we see the directory tree. The yellow file folder indicates that this subdirectory contains subdirectories or files within it. By clicking on the folder, we open it, and see what's inside by looking at the right side of the File Manager screen. Notice that when we only have the C:\/ file folder open, we see the subdirectories and files for the root directory in the right half of the window. When we double-click on a subdirectory folder on the right side of the screen, the left side of the File Manager expands the root directory and displays the files in the right window. We can also now click on a subdirectory in the left window and then see the files inside this subdirectory on the right window. At the top of the right window is an up arrow. This is the parent directory sign. We'll click on it to return to the parent directory. We can further manipulate the directory with the options in the tree menu. For instance, we can expand this one level with the Expand One Level option. Now we'll collapse this branch. In the Atlas directory, when we expand the branch, we see two more branches or subdirectories. We can select Expand Branch. It won't make much difference in our Atlas directory, since it's already expanded all the way. We can collapse this branch if we want. We can use the mouse to do this, or the plus and minus keys on the keyboard. The plus key expands, and the minus key collapses. Another helpful option is the Expand All feature. When we pick Expand All from the tree option, Windows reads all the directories and subdirectories on our hard drive and then displays them. Notice that there is more than one directory, and all this information will not fit on the one screen, so we see a scroll bar again. We can scroll a line at a time by pages, or we can drag the scroll bar box to achieve quick results. When we go back and double-click on the C:\\, it then collapses the entire subdirectory display. Now the files located under C and the subdirectories are displayed on the right. You might find the Windows File Manager helpful, especially if you don't fully understand all the DOS commands. Instead of using DOS, Windows uses its graphical interface for file management tasks. For example, if we double-click on any particular subdirectory, the files or the contents of that subdirectory are displayed in the Files window on the right. We'll move the bar for the split window to the left. We position the mouse pointer on it, see the double-headed arrow, and now we can drag the bar to change the size of these windows. With the File Manager window enlarged, we'll look at these files. On the left are the directories. Notice they are listed in alphabetical order. On the right are the files. They are also listed in alphabetical order currently. If we double-click on a program file, that is a file represented with a blue icon file, we can open it. We can open several files this way. Notice as we click on Card Files, the File Manager is brought to the front, and the card file is placed over the top. As we enter the clipboard, the same process takes place. Now we'll minimize the clipboard. We'll also minimize File Manager to see our icons. Notice that the card file is still here. We'll minimize it too. We can move, resize, and arrange the windows until we have access to the programs we need. And notice it's again represented by an icon. And also notice that Program Manager has been running the entire time. We'll minimize it too. You may be wondering why we want to use Windows over regular DOS. Windows has several advantages. One advantage is that Windows programs have similar menus. Notice our File, Options, Window Help on File Manager. These standard menus make learning new software much easier. Once you learn one Windows application, it's easy to learn others, especially with the window graphical environment, which helps to eliminate those cryptic type DOS commands. Most Windows programs also use the mouse in the same manner. In other words, you select what you want to do in the same way. For example, we'll highlight cardfile.exe. When we choose Open, we can change to our learning diskette in the A drive. Select a file, and it will run in the card file. Now, if we choose Run from the File Manager menu, the same thing happens. We can enter the file name here. We can also print from the File menu. We see the file we'd highlighted in the file list in the print window when we choose the command. Normally, you'll want to print file names with TXT, WRI, and DOC extensions. We can change to the A drive here and select text.wri. We can cancel this and click on the icon to go back to the hard disk drive. Search allows us to search for every file with a certain extension. We'll enter in the BMP extension. The search is executed when we click OK. And here we have all the files ending with the BMP extension. Search Results is the name of the title bar of the window of our found files. We can scroll through this list like we do our other lists. We'll return to the Files menu now. We'll look at our next set of options under the Files pull-down menu. Our next series of options begins with Move. Notice this is also the F7 key. We also have Copy, Delete, Rename, and Property. Move allows us to manipulate individual files. In other words, we can copy them and move them to different parts of the hard drive. Let's do some rearranging so this will be easier to see. We'll go back to the parent directory by clicking the symbol. Now let's move the Windows window down. We don't need our search window anymore, so we'll close it. Now let's open Windows Systems. To move the leaves.bmp file to the Systems file, we just drag it up to the Systems window. We then answer Yes in the confirmation dialog box.
Moving and copying files in Windows is more like using a filing cabinet. We can actually pick up a file and move it where we want. Windows lets us see exactly where our files are going.
Now we can drag the Leaves file back to the Windows subdirectory, and we get the confirmation box once again. We can see that leaves.bmp was indeed moved back to the Windows subdirectory. pbrush.exe is an executable program. If we drag a BMP file onto a pbrush.exe file, this file will be executed, and we'll use the file leaves.bmp as the initial file. We'll click on Yes in the confirmation box, and the paintbrush file will become active, and we see that Leaves file loaded in this program. Now we can manipulate this drawing if we want. We will clip and copy just a bit of this to show the program is fully activated when executed in this way. Now we'll go ahead and minimize this program because we may want to return to it. You can see that keeping our files organized is easy with File Manager. However, there are more commands we need to learn about in the File Manager. We're back at the File Manager. We'll use the copy command next. We'll call this new file test.bmp. When we press the Enter key, the action is completed. Notice test.bmp in addition to paper.bmp. A new file has been created with identical contents. When we want to use the delete command, we simply click on this. The highlighted file is deleted after we respond to the two confirmation boxes. In order to rename a file, we go again from our highlighted file. We'll rename this to the new file called autumn.bmp. Then we click on OK. The file is now renamed as autumn.bmp. We have the ability to go in and easily change the settings with the Properties command. We can create a new subdirectory under the Windows directory if we like. We can call this anything. We'll call it TMP. This stands for temporary. We click on the OK button and notice now that we have a new subdirectory here. We can look at the contents of the new subdirectory. Notice there is nothing in this subdirectory yet. The Select Files feature allows us to select files within a directory or subdirectory. We can enter the file specification here for the files we want to select. ** selects all the files. Now we can delete these files if we want. We get a confirmation box on each of these before we can delete. We'll select Delete for now, but on the confirmation box we'll choose No. We'll cancel this operation since we don't want to delete any of these files. We can deselect these files by choosing the Deselect function. Our next menu is the Disk menu. This allows us to format and manipulate diskettes. We can copy, label, format a diskette, and even make a system diskette from this menu. We'll choose to format a diskette. We can choose to format either drive A or B. We will select to format the diskette in drive A. We'll also change the capacity to a 720K diskette. We also have the option of making this a system disk. We'll click on this. We are then told we are formatting the diskette. We can cancel this at any time by clicking on Cancel. Windows keeps us updated on the results of our formatting. Now we have a complete formatted diskette, and it's a system disk. We're asked if we want to format another. We choose not to. To copy files from one diskette to another, we can simply drag the icon. When we drag the icon, we get a confirmation box, and we answer it. We can also tell Windows when to give us confirmation by using the Options menu and the Confirmation feature here.
You have probably noticed that Windows uses DOS rules in the naming of files. Let's review some of those rules.
Our file names can have two parts. The first is a name up to 8 characters long. The second is a 3-character extension. These two parts are separated by a period. A valid file name in Windows must start with a letter or number.
You can use any upper or lowercase characters except for those with a specific function, like a period. Other characters we cannot use include the quotation marks, slash, backslash, brackets, colon, semicolon, vertical bar, equal sign, and comma.
When naming files, remember that Windows uses file extensions to associate certain files with particular Windows application programs. Also remember to have a consistent file naming system in place when naming your files in Windows, or for that matter, any other software. A good thing about Windows is that we can actually see what we're doing by manipulating files directly instead of using typed commands. This should help, especially for those who are unfamiliar or not comfortable with DOS file conventions. We're now in the Windows subdirectory. We can drag the TMP subdirectory we created to the Utilities or UTIL subdirectory. This allows us to move the contents of this subdirectory. Remember, this is currently empty, but if there were files in it, they would all be moved along with the subdirectory. We're not copying them, we are actually moving them to the new position. Remember, we can also copy from a diskette to the hard drive and from one directory to another.
It's easy to manipulate files in Windows because we can actually see what we're doing. The Windows graphical interface makes this possible.
Another option is labeling a diskette. We can give the diskette in drive A a new label by entering it in the dialog box. In this case, we apply the label Test. Now we can see the new label listed in brackets next to the A colon. We'll move on now to the View menu. This menu allows us to specify the information we want displayed on the screen when we look at a subdirectory. We'll click back on the C drive and look at our Windows subdirectory. Here we see the files in the Windows subdirectory. Now we'll go to the View menu and change our options. Rather than just looking at the name, we want to see file details. This looks very similar to the information when we run a directory command at a DOS prompt. We also get file attribute information in Windows. We can set each of these options with the View command. We can also sort our files in Windows File Manager. Sorting by name is the default, but we can also sort by file extension. The options we have in sorting are name, type, size, or last modification date. If we choose to, we can also set these choices as system defaults. Here we have the files sorted by size. We can also choose to include or not include more information. We can choose not to include the directories and other files, but simply show the documents and program files here. This can be helpful if we want to set system defaults to only show programs we can run or documents we can edit. Notice the BMP, EXE, and WRI along with TXT extensions. These are all program files that we can run. Another useful setup is to list the files by name, sort them by extension or file type, and then only include the programs. This provides a shorter, more manageable file list. We'll return to our Sort by File Type menu and set all our choices at their defaults to include all files. Next, we'll look at options. Under Options, we have Confirmation, Font, the status bar, Minimize on Use, and Save Settings on Exit. Also notice the last two choices on the menu bar. They are Window and Help. You may have noticed how similar the different Windows applications work. Most Windows programs will have a familiar feel.
For example, many applications have Help as the last item on the menu bar. The File menu is usually the first item. Also, the mouse works basically the same for different Windows programs.
We've used the File Manager. Now we'll take a look at some of the other applications included with Windows 3.1. Another item on the main menu is the Print Manager. We double-click Print Manager and are taken right into it. Notice it is set up basically the same way as the Program Manager and the File Manager as far as the menus go. We have Options, View, and Help. Notice that Help, as we discussed earlier, is very similar. We won't go into the various features available here, but it's here for you. If you need to manipulate print jobs, you'll want to take advantage of this application. The Control Panel gives us many ways to control our Windows environment. One example is the color. We can change the color by picking many of these options. Some of the colors include Arizona, Designer, Black Leather Jacket, Wingtips, and many others. We will choose Rugby. We can also change the actual color palette here if we want. We can change the color of any particular item. When we're satisfied with our colors, we choose OK. Now notice how the window screen has changed. For more information on changing colors, refer to the Using Windows 3.1 Advanced training video. Next, we'll look at the COM ports and the mouse settings options. Ports in the control panel allows us to set advanced information on our serial or COM ports. Notice that we can support up to 4 serial ports with Windows 3.1. Next, we have the mouse settings. The mouse settings let us set the speed that our mouse travels across the screen. These settings are a matter of personal preference. You can set these at a comfortable level for you. We can also set the double-click speed. This is the amount of time you have to produce 2 clicks and have Windows recognize these as double clicks. The test screen here changes color as we double-click. Slowing the double-click speed is easy to do. All we have to do is drag the button to the left. Once again, experiment with these settings until you have them just the way you want. The desktop option allows us to customize the desktop. This option and many others are explained in the ViaGrafix training video using Windows 3.1 Advanced. The 386 Enhanced mode will also be covered in that tape. This option only appears if your system is running in the 386 Enhanced mode. And also we can set our printers up and add printers as we did in the installation and setup. If we are out of country, we have the ability to change some of the international settings. These are currently listed as the defaults for the US system. We can also change the setup of our keyboard. Here we can change the keyboard repeat rate. We also have a test typing area. Notice how quickly it repeats at this fast speed. Now, look how slowly it repeats at the reduced rate. Play with this feature until you find the right setting for you. When you're satisfied, click on the OK button to move on. The date and time settings should be self-explanatory. We can use the scroll button to increase or decrease in these 2 dialog windows. We can also enter in new numbers. We also have the sound option. We can turn system warning beeps on or off here. And we also have access to many sounds if we have a soundboard on our computer. We can also add drivers in Windows 3.1. These include MIDI and sound drivers. And another feature of Windows 3.1 is TrueType fonts. We can deal with our fonts in this menu. The Windows setup allows us to reset different options we set up initially during the Windows installation. These options are available primarily for equipment changes. We can change the display, the keyboard, and the mouse. And if we're working in a network, we can also change network settings. Notice the System Settings menu works basically the same as other Windows menus. We can also set up applications. This option works here as it did in installation. Remember that it's here if we need it.
The next item we'll cover is one of the most useful in Windows. It is the clipboard. The clipboard lets us save data to it for use in other Windows programs.
Does this look familiar? This is a section of the leaves.pmp drawing that we clipped or copied from Paintbrush. Notice that we can save this file as a different file. In this case, we'll call it test.clp. Now this is saved as a clip. We also have different settings we can change in Clipboard. The important thing to remember in Clipboard is that whenever we copy from any application, whatever has been clipped is taken directly into the clipboard. Another option is the DOS prompt. By double-clicking on this, we are taken directly into the DOS prompt. An important feature here is the ability to use the Alt-Tab keys to get back into the Windows environment. We can also do Alt-Enter to see a DOS window inside our bigger Program Manager window. Remember that Alt-Tab is the keystroke combination we use to move to Windows from DOS.
Windows installs several useful applications under the program group Accessories.
These programs are items you might find on a normal desktop with names like Paintbrush, Card File, Clock, and Calculator. We'll take a look at some of these programs next. We'll begin by double-clicking on the right icon. Here we can open a new file. The File menu is similar in most Windows applications. We have lists of files and can change directories also. We can change the extension to star.star by highlighting the three letters and entering the star. We can also change disks. In our case, we'll look at the Learning disk in Drive A. Now we can select a file from the disk. To open a file, we double-click on it. The file is then brought up on the screen. Here we have the right screen. We can go ahead and write our letters, and we can also correct them, just as we would in a normal word processor. Here, we'll enter a sentence. We can also block define and change parts of our text by dragging the mouse down the text. We'll select from the Character menu now. We have changed these words to bold, and we can also change the typeface. Another improvement in Windows 3.1 is the new TrueType technology. TrueType fonts are scalable fonts. This means that you get a variety of fonts without taking up a lot of hard disk space. Now we can select a different font. We can select the size in this part of the box. We can also change the original font, in this case to a non-TrueType font, Script. When we click on OK, our text is in Script. We can also format paragraphs in Write. We can left, center, right, or justify these, or even make indentions. In this dialog box, we enter the number for our indentions. For example, we can set the left indent to 1 and the right indent for 2 for our demonstration. Let's use the clipboard now in Write. If you remember, the clipboard had the leave.bmp picture from Paintbrush. We have pasted this now, and we can resize it. We'll size the picture. Notice once we select Size Picture, we do not have to hold down the mouse button to affect the size. Remember, whatever we place in Clipboard is available in Windows, and we can put it just about wherever we want. Another accessory is the terminal. Terminal allows us to perform telecommunications by using the modem and telephone line. There is a lot of information within terminal. It's easy to use, especially if you're familiar with telecommunicating. Having the correct settings, as in any telecommunications, is important. We won't have time to delve into this for now. We have briefly looked at Paintbrush and we'll activate this program again. Paintbrush is one of the programs that we'll want to use at a maximized view. We'll retrieve this PCX file from the ViaGrafix learning diskette located on the A drive. This is a map of the USA in black and white. Now we can alter this drawing. We can doodle in color, erase, and edit any way we want. Now we'll look at the notepad. First, we select Notepad. Then we enter some text on the Notepad screen. This is the text editor, similar to the DOS editor Edit. We have some familiar options listed in the menu bar. Remember, the pull-down menus are similar in various Windows applications. We can save the Notepad text in DOS or ASCII format. This editor, however, is not as advanced as our Write program. Card File is a handy card file application. We can use it like an electronic Rolodex. Notice once again, the menus are very similar to what we've been using. Like many of the Windows programs, we begin by opening a file. We'll open the card file located on the ViaGrafix learning diskette. In this sample, we can see how easy it is to go back and forth and move across sample file cards. We can also click on the arrow buttons near the top to go through these. We can also use the indexing mode. We have the ability to view our cards by card or by a list. We can also add a card to the file. To do this, we click onto Card and select Add. We fill in the dialog box and then see the new card. We can view the new card and enter our information any way we want. This is helpful for keeping such items as phone numbers or addresses, or simply maintaining notes on clients. We have another useful feature, Find, where we can locate the word we want, such as Via. Now here it is on this card. Now let's use two applications at the same time. We'll activate the clock and then the calculator. We can minimize the program manager so we can see what we're doing. We can move these wherever we want. We can also change the clock to analog. The calculator works just like a handheld calculator. You can change this to a scientific option if it suits your needs better. Windows also comes with two built-in games, Solitaire and Minesweeper.
We'll take a look at Solitaire here. Even though winning at Solitaire may not be your reason for having Windows, it is fun.
These games are useful for learning mouse techniques and getting comfortable with the Windows environment.
They are also a good way for children to become familiar with computers and with Windows. Notice as we play Solitaire, many of our mouse movement techniques are used.
This is also a good way to break up one of those long Windows computing sessions.
We've covered what you need to know to use Windows 3.1, but there are other ways to put this powerful program to work for you.
You'll want to use the ViaGrafix tape using Windows 3.1 Advanced to get the most from Windows. ViaGrafix also offers an extensive line of tutorials on Windows-based software. This concludes this video tutorial, Getting Started with Windows 3.1. We at ViaGrafix would like to thank you for choosing our company for your computer training needs.
Remember, if you plan to learn Windows or any other computer software, there is no better way than through video training with ViaGrafix.